What makes this particular random card one of the best and one of the most fun win cons in the game. Welcome back to my cEDH for Beginners series, where I break down common cEDH staples and explain how to use them to players who are new to the format, and today we are talking about one of my favorite combos of all time, Food Chain. Now, at first glance, Food Chain certainly doesn't seem like a bad card. You know, decent way to get some mana with some creatures you don't need, but, I mean, nothing too crazy, right? Certainly not something that could be abused for infinite mana, right? Enter cards like Mist Hollow Griffin that can be cast from exile. You could also use Eternal Scourge or Squee the Immortal. All of these cards have abilities that allow them to be cast from exile, which means you could exile them to Food Chain an infinite number of times, recasting them with the mana you get from it, but netting one each time and getting infinite mana of any color you want. Now that's pretty cool, but now how do I go about winning with it? And what decks do I want to play this combo in? Well, I am so glad you asked, because the answer to this question is any deck that has a commander with an enters or leaves ability can be used an infinite amount of time with Food Chain. I'm going to use this time to talk about my favorite cEDH deck ever, Atali Primal Conqueror, but this applies to any commander with an enters or leaves ability. Basically, once you've gotten infinite mana with Food Chain in one of the three previously mentioned cards, you then start exiling your commander to Food Chain and recasting it, not really caring about commander tags because you have infinite mana. And then that enters or leaves ability happens in infinite time. So as long as you have a commander with a pretty good enters or leaves ability that you could reasonably win with, if you can do it infinite amounts of times, you could use it as a powerful Food Chain deck. Now, my favorite is Atali, because obviously Atali clearly has a very powerful enters ability. Now, if I'm doing this infinite times with Food Chain, not only do I get my entire deck, I get all of my opponent's decks, and I could use whatever I find in them to put together any sort of win line I want. This is one that's often a little confusing to new players because I just say put together a win line, but that's because I don't know what your opponents are playing. You could put combos and other win lines in your decks to guarantee you have something, but a lot of times the fun is trying to pull something together from your opponent's decks and pull a win. Or a lot of times, especially in tournament settings, once you get to this point, they'll just kind of accept you win and you don't actually have to go through resolving everyone's decks. I think this idea is also really cool for new players because they could take literally any cool legend as long as it's green and has an enters or leaves ability, and they could turn it into a Food Chain deck that will work pretty well in cEDH. Like, you'd be very surprised by the commanders that actually work as a Food Chain commander. But of course, those are just my thoughts. What are yours, and what cards do you want to see me cover next? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to follow.